Hey everybody, welcome to episode 68 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with Jimmy Diresta.
Hey guys.
And David Picciuto.
Hey man, what's going on?
Not much. What's up with you guys?
I'm upstate working my butt off with David Welder. I was going to say Dr. David Welder. I'm up here with Dr. David Welder, and we've been jamming all day. Dave's putting together, we're doing Snapchat all day, so some people are watching. And we just discovered, you guys know how to make the stretchy face parts of the Snapchat? Dave, I think you were playing with it, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it makes your face all stretchy. It's super fun. So we tried to get Spike to do it today. It wasn't working on a cat's face. But yeah, we're up here driving around. We keep making visits to the lumberyard. I'm trying my best not to overshoot my materials on this thing. And since the lumberyard is just about 6 miles down the road, I'm on my third truckload of materials. Which if I bought them in one big full sweep, that wouldn't have fit in the truck anyway. So like I said, I'm going down buying a little bit at a time. We're having fun. So I built the foundation of this beehive house on Saturday just to get my mind around it because I was a little nervous about the build. And so once I got the floor plan done and the 2x4s of the floor plan, Dave came up here with me last night and we started work this morning at about 8 a.m. gathering materials, and we've been rocking and rolling. We're making a good video. Dave's got his copter up here, his helicopter, so we're having fun with that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he keeps wanting me to play with the controls. I'm too afraid of it, and I'm just going to fly it directly into the power line, so not playing with it.
Yeah, I saw, just on that note, I saw Flight Test did a review of the Phantom 4, the brand new one.
Yeah.
Which is the super nice one.
Yeah. And
it's got all these crazy features in it, but one of them is, I don't know if it would work for telephone wires, but it has sensors on the front of it, on each side of the front panel. So if you fly it at a wall, full force, about 10 feet from the wall, it'll stop itself.
Oh, wow.
And so it's made to avoid collision. It's pretty awesome. There's a bunch of other really cool features.
Yeah, have you guys been watching Casey? Casey's been doing amazing aerial shots with his DJI-4.
Looks so good. Yeah.
And he's actually driving in cars and skateboarding and riding on boats and stuff, and the DJI is following him. The most amazing shots. It's just incredible. It's taking his cinematography to a whole new level. And he's getting better at it. Of course, if you've been watching Casey, the joke is he is always crashing them into stuff. And now he keeps recovering his 4 every time he crashes it. So far, he's got it back every time. And it still works. Went in the water and it works. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, they seem to be, especially this newest version, seems to be really, well, I don't say really hard to break, but much harder to break than they used to be. Because I've seen him and a lot of other people crash them because of those turn off the controller or something crazy like that.
Well, Dave crashed his into a tree, so it broke the gantry, the camera off, and he was able to put the camera back on. But now he's getting these kind of alpha lines through his image. So this morning we just squeeze clamped on a GoPro. It takes a 3-pound payload. So he was just hovering over the scene. He's been doing it every couple hours of where we're working. He just hovers over he just sets it to hover and he goes to work. And he doesn't even look at the controls. It's just hovering about 30, 40 feet in the air above us. Huh. It's incredible. It's such an incredible, I just keep saying to myself, wow, imagine the technology, what it's going to be like in a few years if this is where it's at now. And that's they just keep adding things that you just don't think.
Yeah. If you can make them
a thought.
Yeah. If you can make them quieter because they're really noisy, and if you can make it so you have the control device in your pocket and it just follows you around. I see a lot of these things happening. I don't know how you make them quieter, but I'm sure they'll figure it out.
The cool thing, if you watch Casey, because now he's really super, getting super experienced with it. He flies through the air and just stops dead and then moves again. It almost seems like it's on a crane, which is just incredible. And, he's on a crane, but he's 700 feet above the earth. So it's not possible to be on a crane. It's just incredible, though, the way that the camera moves.
Yeah, I got the impression that newest one, the 4, is made, they kind of went away from making it to fly. I mean, it flies, obviously, but the focus of the 4 is cinematography.
Yeah. So
they did a bunch of little stuff to it to make it even better and better and better on, getting the shots that you want. One of the features I saw is... If you're, looking through the viewport on an iPad or on any screen on the controller, you can just tap a person and it draws a box around the person and then the camera will just follow that person. You don't even have to, you can let go of the controls and that person can run through a field and it will follow them around. That's awesome and scary at the same time. It's a little bit scary, but also pretty amazing, to think about. You could just like be flying along and just pick an object and it'll just chase that object. So,
yeah.
But,
the funny thing now, I mean, we got off the topic of what I'm building, but when I watch a movie or a TV show or anything, all of a sudden there's a drone flight. The first thing I used to think of, because I'm a little like cinematography conscious, I was like, oh, they hired a helicopter. That's pretty cool. And, nowadays it's like every little production, obviously YouTube videos at the very least, every production has got a drone flight in it. And you think, oh, they got a cool drone. It's like in the past, you'd be like, oh, wow, I wonder how much a helicopter costs for the day. Like that would be what my mind would wander to. But now it's like, oh, someone spent $1,000 on a helicopter, on a drone.
David, what about you? What are you up to?
So I've been working on this ulu knife, which you guys can see in the camera.
That's cool.
Sweet.
My first knife project, which Jimmy always worries about the knife nerds attacking him. I'm definitely going to get attacked for the materials that I'm using because it's just regular sheet metal from Home Depot. Right. But the thing with ulu knives is they're really thin and they're not really made out of like a hardened steel. And like even the store-bought one I have here, I can flex the blade.
Is it just meant for chopping safely? Is that why? Because of the shape of the handle?
It's the blade is curved, and then there's a mating cutting board that's also curved.
Very cool. And you did that too.
This is the knife I made. This is the store-bought one that we've had for a couple of years, and I'm going to make this on the lathe here.
Very cool.
As soon as we're done talking. So the blade is the same curvature as the cutting board, and it makes for a very efficient, fast cutting of potatoes, vegetables, and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then
I started a knife build this week too, by the way. So nice. I'll get some knife nerds on my back. So the two of us will take the hit.
Have fun, guys.
But it was real fun. I got when you get when you polish the metal good enough where you can see your reflection, that's really, really satisfying.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then this is a collab project, so I'm sending it off to this chef in Austria, and he's going to finish up the video.
Wow,
sweet.
Yeah.
What's your Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I used the laser to engrave his logo on the handle here.
Oh, nice. What's your polishing process like to get that polish on it?
Sanding. So just random orbit sander up to 400, and then those kind of like Scotch-Brite abrasive pads. Mm-hmm. I just cut them into a circle, put it on the random orbit sander, and went up through to the highest grit that you can get in those abrasive pads, and then with and then I have that Work Sharp blade sharpener. And one of the wheels on there is a leather one, so and I just run this over the leather.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a mirror.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I've been making a pedal board. Did I talk about that last week?
Ooh, what? What's a pedal board?
But it's not for me. It's for Rob Scallon.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I'm thinking it's a bicycle with the pedals on it. I forgot you guys play guitar.
It's like a skateboard with pedals.
I thought it was a pedal board. Like you stand on it and you stand on like two things that go like this, like I'm pedaling my arms in the air.
I'll write that down for future use. But no, so Rob Scallon is the guy that made the shovel guitar for a while back, and he's getting ready to go out on tour, and with some other YouTube people who do music. And so he asked me a couple weeks ago if I could make him a small pedal board to take out. He only uses like 4 guitar pedals, so it's pretty small. It's made to fit what he has and how he uses it. So it was interesting because it's not the type of board I would have made for myself. It's very different in kind of form and function. So it was fun to do something for somebody else. And so
that's cool. Did any of the brainstorming session that we did about a year ago come into play? That's a no.
Well, not really, but not specifically. But somebody did send a recommendation for how to attach the pedals to the board from that conversation. Mm-hmm. And it was one I had never heard of. This is interesting. So a lot of times people will zip tie the pedals to the pedal board, or they'll put Velcro on the back and on the board, and they'll stick them together that way, that's what I've always done. And so this recommendation was to take a bicycle chain, pop out the links, and so each link is like a figure 8 with 2 holes in it. right? So you unscrew the screw from the back of a pedal and put one of those, you screw it back on through one of those holes. Then you have the other side of the figure eight sticking off the side of the pedal. And you do that, on all four corners or two corners or whatever. And then you set that on the pedal board and drive a screw down through that kind of reaching out hole to mount it to the board. So it's really, it's like flush mounted. It's super secure. It's a really cool idea. The only downside is that it leaves a hole. If you want to move your pedal, it leaves a hole, in the board. But so I didn't do that because this wasn't my board. So he may do that. But that was a really cool method for mounting a pedal that I'd never seen before. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's like, that's exactly the way sometimes you mount a tabletop. Like a tabletop that breathes. It has those figure eights. They kind of move a little bit so the table can breathe if it's like hardwood.
Right. So yeah, I've been making that, and then I made a desk, like kind of a floating desk that is for next week.
What's a floating desk?
It's just like a floating shelf, really, but it fits within a little 3-wall indention in a room. So there's this friend of mine is doing she's interior designer, so she's rebuilding the interiors of this little house downtown, and there's a kind of little inset section next to a fireplace. So it's 3 walls, pushed out of the room, like into a corner. And so I just built a frame that fits within those 3 walls and then a tabletop that goes over it. So there's no legs to the desk. It goes from wall to wall to wall, but it ended up being really nice. So it's really simple. But yeah.
That's cool. I thought it was like an Arduino anti-gravity thing.
Well, I got one of those too. But no, just kidding.
The hoverboard.
Yeah. And then I did last week on my live stream, I did the really simple box joint jig.
I watched.
And I ended up cutting that down and making a YouTube video out of it. It was the first one of my Twitch streams that was like I could figure out how to cut down into a single, kind of like cohesive thing. That process from going from Twitch to YouTube has actually been a lot more difficult than I expected it to be, as far as the content. But
are you missing pieces and stuff doesn't connect well?
Well, it's more about like I'm in the moment. I'm thinking about talking to the people who are watching live, and I'm explaining what I'm doing, but the carryover of audio and video, they don't line up in like edit points so much. It's a lot of like, I'm doing this, but I'm talking about what I just did or what I'm about to do. And so then when you go back to edit out the unnecessary parts of that, you have this weird overlap of audio and video in different sections. And I think that's just an experience thing of just figuring out, kind of giving myself breakpoints to say, okay, pause here, talking and moving, and then start a new action. So, but it's an interesting problem to figure out.
We've talked about this many times where you don't necessarily know how to do something until you've done it a couple times, right? You get better at it as you go.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been doing all of that stuff. I have a couple things to talk about this week that have got some cool emails. So I got a couple follow-up things, and then if we want to get to a topic, we can. So last week we talked about the kind of everyday carry stuff, and I mentioned the belt, like just having a piece of leather around and what you could do with it. We got a couple of emails from people. This one I thought was really awesome. This was from Tim McSweeney. He said, I was a passenger in a car that was rear-ended by someone else. No one was injured, and neither car was badly damaged, but the front fender of the car was hanging loose, running on the wheel. We tried calling for a tow, but it was going to take several hours. I took off my belt, looped it around the fender, up onto the frame, and cinched it to pull the fender back into alignment. It wasn't pretty, but it was enough to get us home so we could deal with the damage at leisure rather than waiting on the side of the road. So that's exactly the type of stuff I was thinking about when we were talking about that.
Worst case scenario, belt.
Yeah, and it's such an easy, that was let them get home and deal with the problem later rather than sit there on the side of the road. Yeah. But we got a couple more emails like that. I thought it was really cool. So
I have a belt tip, by the way, I thought of after we got off the air. I wear belts. I got into I'm such a creature of habit. I got, about 4 years ago, I got to the point where I only buy belts that have holes completely around them. Do you ever see those belts where it's the two? It's the two, and there's like a series of holes that go completely around the belt. And that's so I can use little clips and clip keys and all the things I need around my power belt.
Oh,
that's
wow.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Because I was always punching holes. I was kind of hard fast. I need a black thick leather belt, and then I would punch like 3 holes in it. And then one day at the store, I'm like, oh, that thing has 1,000 holes in it, and I don't have to punch holes in it. So I use those belts. So my keys, like I'll have like 3 or 4 sets of keys, and my super rope and my power spray mace.
I was just thinking the other day, like when we go out to Maker Faire in a few weeks, that I have these little lenses for my iPhone, but I wanted to make like a little holster for them that goes right on my belt. And I'm thinking, oh, now I got to figure out how to wrap around the belt or go through it. And that kind of solves my issue right there.
Now, here's a product idea for you to figure out, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And we can cut this out if you don't want anybody else to steal it.
Go for it.
You need to come up with like a standard mechanism to clip over the belt and through those holes, so you have it can lock in place, and then have a hanger off of that.
I'm not even joking when I tell you that me and my friend Steve have been working on a patent for that for a really long time. And
really,
yeah, it was based off an invention that I came up with, and then Steve kind of Steve is a patent. He writes patents up, and Steve is also a mechanical engineer. And when he saw my patents approach, he basically kind of reinvented it and came up with that idea. So Steve is the one driving that concept, not me. And so Steve, every once in a while, comes to the shop and we kick around ideas about, it's an apron that has like a convertible ability that starts from a belt. And so it turns into an apron and things connect and disconnect from it. And like I said, Steve is really running the show there. He actually had some 3D printed clips from the office he works in. He works with a 3D printer person that can visualize and do AutoCAD. And so he's made up a couple of little clips. But it's one of those things that's always like on the back burner because he and I are both so busy. So we never really taken the time to bring it to the forefront. But we did get a provisional patent on it, which is expired now because neither one of us are ready to pull the trigger. So that's basically a provisional means you could sit on it for 1 year, and then 1 year comes, you decide. But neither one of us had the time or attention to spend on it. But it's definitely there. And whenever I talk to him, it comes up. So similar.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. To the provisional patent thing, in case people aren't aware, it's a cheaper way short term to get a patent, to get the protection of a patent without the long term investment. So if you have an idea but you don't have the several $1,000s or whatever it costs to get the full patent and don't want to wait through that process, you can get the provisional for, do you know how much it is? A couple $100s?
I have Steve works for the lawyer that is my friend also. We're all good friends, and so we always get a good deal on it. He usually charges me whatever the government fees are. I give him money all the time, so it's all wrapped up in there. But it's only a few $100. Provisional patent is like paying someone to stand in a parking spot for 1 year. And then 1 year comes up, and if you don't park in that parking spot, he's like, I'm leaving. That's it. You want to pay me for the rest of the 17 years? I'll stay, but that's basically it. And if, so that parking spot will remain empty if no one takes it, but you're taking the chance that somebody will take it. And, that's a metaphor for the actual invention.
Yeah. Anyway, somebody asked me about something like that in a Q&A video that I'm working on, and I talked through that a little bit, but I thought it might be interesting to expand that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people don't know that that's an option.
Right.
They think they either have to let it go or, file for the full-on patent. But a lot of people, they'll get the provisional, and then in that year, they figure out if they can license the idea to somebody else to manufacture.
I'll tell you what happens with me. I've done this probably 8 or 9 times in the last few years, in the last 8 or 9 years. I get a provisional on something, and 1 year comes up. I get a provisional. I go, okay, done. I got that taken care of. 1 year comes up, and then my lawyer calls me and goes, do you want to make a patent on this or not? And I go, forget it. It happens all the time because that means now it's like, okay, now spend $10,000, develop a marketing plan, get a real prototype. You should have done that for the previous year, but you forgot. So forget it. Patenting is a very slippery slope. You have to have really good connections and good marketing and also good engineering and a lot of luck.
And a good lawyer, because you have to have it's really hard to get a patent yourself because it needs to almost be written by a lawyer because they speak the right language. Because if you write your patent wrong, it could totally screw you in the future.
Mm-hmm. When I worked for Dell, we would do, they were filing for patents all the time, software patents and all the hardware and all this stuff. And so every time we would finish a project, we would go back and our manager would say, like, was there anything patentable in what you just did? And so we would have to like kind of rethink like the concept. You can't patent a piece of code, but you can, like a product or a concept or something. So we would have to go back and think at a conceptual level, like, is there anything that might be unique that we did? And if so, we would write it up in the language that we could explain it in. And then we would send it off to this team of lawyers. And all they did was translate what we said it actually did into words that would make it, available.
They would translate it into a bill they would submit to Dell.
Yeah. Exactly. But
I actually, you just reminded me, I actually pulled the trigger on the Witchblade knife, the handle, the multi-tool as handle to Bowie knife. It's kind of like the abstract. So I had a provisional for that, which came up a few months back in the wintertime. It came up and Richard, my lawyer, says, what do you want to do? Let's pull a trigger or not? And so I said, let's do it. I swallowed real hard and I'm like, okay, let's do it. Because if I let that go and, Leatherman or Gerber or someone parks in that parking spot, I'll be very upset. So
yeah, for real.
And actually I got contacted by somebody at Gerber. Never really went anywhere. He's actually a marketing person for Gerber Tools. I don't know. If you're listening, call me back and give me a specific reason why you want to talk. He just said, hey, you want to hang out? And I really wasn't like up on details, but I was so busy and apparently so was he, so we didn't connect.
Maybe he was just lonely.
Maybe.
You want to hang out?
Want to hang out? I'll show you my knife collection. They're all Gerbers.
Well, one thing real quick before we move along.
Go for it.
We got a lot of awesome everyday carry photos, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you to everybody that tweeted us those photos because some of it was really cool.
Yeah.
You keep sending them because I think tons of people have that type of stuff that they like to lay out.
There's a famous Tumblr, Everyday Carry, EDC Tumblr. And that's why I first started noticing that initial EDC, Everyday Carry. And it's great. I'm on there from about 4 years ago. I made my EDC.
My pockets aren't interesting enough, I think, for that.
Mine aren't either.
It's just, I could like make up some funny stuff that looks like they were in my pockets all the time.
There's always an Arduino in there and
yeah,
a Raspberry
16
Pi.
feet of LEDs. I just keep them in my back pocket. A lot of people in the world got an email today that I wanted to talk about and get your opinions. Did you guys read the email from Glowforge?
I did.
I'm not on the list.
Oh, that's right. You haven't actually bought one.
That's right.
So the Glowforge is the crowdfunded laser, for anybody that's not aware, the crowdfunded like laser engraver cutter thing. It looks to be really awesome. David and I both bought into it at the beginning, and they were supposed to ship apparently in June. And I didn't even know that was the date. But anyway, so they sent an email today, and basically, the long and the short of it is they're delaying from shipping in June to shipping in December.
What?
And they feel really bad about it. And they're going to give everybody $150 worth of materials of this like certain laser specific material stuff that they sell. And then some gift certificates and like 10% off the future stuff. And they went through some of the reasons why this is happening. And I saw a lot of blowback from it today on Twitter.
Uh-oh. I didn't know any of this.
And it's one of those things that like the loudest people in the room are the loudest people in the room. So just because people are talking about it on Twitter doesn't mean that like everybody in the world's upset about it.
Right.
But I don't know. I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Well, it's an extremely complicated product that they're trying to kind of make consumerism, like a consumerist version of it. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're trying to make a prosumer version of something that's always very high tech. That's basically what Glowforge has become, right? It's just like the consumer version of like a $10,000 unit.
Yeah, they're trying to make, like the impression I get is that they're trying to make the simplicity of an Apple versus a Unix system.
Right.
In the laser world, they're taking something that is extremely technical and complex and hard to use for the layperson, packaging it and giving it a user interface that just about anybody can understand and be productive with.
Yeah, well, that's my thing is my little resin cast figure that me and Carlos did together is meaningless in comparison to making a Glowforge. But there's so many ups and downs and ins and outs and things that have to happen, and you leave in the hands of other people to participate and finish and deadlines. Like I said, we just made a little resin cast figure that somebody painted, or that, there was several steps of painting. Got to decide the box, the packaging. There was little things like the packaging. When you open up my resin figure, it's in like a compressed beaded foam thing. They buy those in blocks and literally carve out that section that I'm stuck in. Carlos said I wanted it wrapped in velvet, but then of course the cost of that, not only for the piece, but also the labor involved in wrapping that with a piece of velvet. So we ended up leaving that out for cost process, and the factory never did velvet like that before, so they had to find a supplier. So that's nothing. These are just non-mechanical things that don't have to perform any task. They just don't have to be broken. You're sending a high-tech piece of equipment. You want to make sure that that thing works every time, because, you'd rather take the hit up front and say, we're going to be late, than ship out a product that's going to be problematic. And then you're dealing with a recall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so no sales after
that. Yeah. Right. And, everyone wants their money back. You might even, they run the risk. I guess, I don't know if it's refundable or not. You guys paid. I didn't, so I don't know.
It is refundable. Yeah. They made it real clear in the email. If you want your money back, we'll gladly do so. Well, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like anytime, they didn't build a factory to make them. So they have to have somebody else make them for them. Yeah. And anytime something is in somebody else's hands, things can go wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Not only is it at the will of, individual human beings, it's just you're at the will of materials and mechanical processes of things coming together, shipping, UPS.
And it sounds like one of the big, they are going to be assembled in the US, which he put into this email, which I thought was pretty cool, because I don't think that was the original plan. So that's an interesting upgrade to the process, to be a part of the company. But one of the things that they mentioned was, as a reason for the delay, was the power supply. Like they initially had a power supply lined up to run the machine. Turned out it didn't perform like they wanted it to, and they had trouble with it, which in my mind, that's a pretty core thing to, if it's not right, of course, you're not going to ship a machine. You're not going to send it out with something that's either underpowered or has potential to be, electrically dangerous or, whatever. I don't know what the specifics were. But so, I don't know. Personally, for me, I'm like, sure, delay it longer. That's fine. I can survive just fine in this world without a laser, and I will get it eventually. So I would rather get a good product than a quick product. Because if I get it and it doesn't do what I think it should do, and it's going to end up sitting there on the shelf and I'm not going to use it because I'm going to be disappointed with its, and that's happened to me with a 3D printer. Super excited about it, paid for it ahead of time, got it in, didn't do what I want, and now I don't touch it. Mm-hmm. And it's in the way, And I can imagine that being the largest crowdfunded product in the world, they don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Well, is that true? They hold the record for being the largest crowdfund?
I believe so. Mm-hmm. Like hardware product. Right. Probably not like product in general, but like a...
Yeah. You can sign up for their beta program to try to get an early machine, but the machine that's going to be shipped to me, I want that to be fully operational. I don't want to fidget with it. I don't want to troubleshoot. So I'm okay to wait. But saying that, I already have a laser, so I'm okay now. But I'm looking forward to the features of this new one. But if you can use this time to figure out what projects you're going to do with it. You can design projects in the meantime. You can learn some new software, even though this comes with its own software. You can do higher end things if you learn other pieces of software, so use the time to come up with projects, because so many times in my life have I been so excited to get a new computer, a new guitar, a new machine, and then when I get it, I don't even use it for 2 weeks because I'm like, what do I do with it?
Yep. Yeah. Tom Morrison was asking me what I thought about this on Facebook today, and that's why I wanted to bring it up to you guys. But he kind of said at the end of it was, I don't know whether I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to cancel it and buy an Epilogue or a Full Spectrum. And that's entirely up to every single person. You decide what you want to do with your money, of course. In my mind, the reason I was interested in a Glowforge was because it wasn't an Epilogue or a Full Spectrum. Not because I have anything against those, but because I've heard enough stories about, to use this particular machine, you have to use this software and it's awful, or you have to use this type of computer and it has these limitations and it has this and it has, whatever the specifics were for both of those brands, even though they're both good machines and are productive, in my mind, if I'm going to pay for a laser, I want it to be what I want it to be. And the Glowforge just happened to be that thing for me. So it's like I'm not in enough of a hurry to kind of kick aside what I wanted for the sake of time to get another laser. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how to say that in the right way.
You're willing to wait.
I'm willing to wait because I wanted the experience of what they're making the Glowforge look like. Yeah. Maybe it won't end up being that. I don't know. But that's what drove me into it, not the fact that it's a laser. There's already lasers out there. So, yeah. But, I think that's going to be, that's a thing about crowdfunding in general. And anybody who's ever backed a Kickstarter has probably dealt with that to some degree. There's always some kind of delay. There's always some compromise that has to be made after the fact, because people who have not ever done a hardware project, have not ever created whatever it is they're creating for Kickstarter or crowdfunding, they don't have the experience to know all the ins and outs of things ahead of time to fully vet the process before they even put it on to Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. They usually don't have the funds to do that research and to figure all those things out. And that's why they go to Kickstarter, you know? So I don't know. To me, that's just part of the process.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a risky take, especially a complicated product like that. I've never used a laser personally. I've worked with my friend's laser a little bit. But just knowing how complicated it is, and speaking to a few of my friends that have experience with lasers, they were all looking at that project. There's naysayers and trolls, but and these couple friends of mine were like, nah, there's no way that's going to deliver the way that presentation let everybody see. This is what these guys said, and like I said, they're in the investment tech world. They're guys that are in the world that we do, but they're more on the finance side of the higher end stuff, and they both said he put out an amazing killer presentation and he's going to have a very difficult time living up to it. And so it seems like that's probably the case. But you know what? Everything is fixable and solvable, I think. It's just a matter of getting it right. I
think the features that they're introducing are worth the wait because they're going to push the entire laser industry forward with having the cameras in there and all the things that the cameras inside the machine can do.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
It's a bummer. It's annoying that if you put your money into something, several $1,000s, and you put your money in a place and then it's still sitting in that place and you get nothing. Yeah. I understand that frustration. Trust me, it's my money. But
do you get interest?
No, but that would be a cool. Maybe we should suggest that we get interest for however long they're delaying.
Well, we can. But I was going to say they're going to be out at Maker Faire. Maybe we can talk to them and get a little bit of insider information that we can broadcast in a couple weeks.
Yeah. They did say in that same email that they're going to be set up at Maker Faire in Bay Area. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there, you can go see one and actually see the experience up close and see if it lives up to what they showed in the videos. So I think it will. Yeah.
And you can see us and see if we live up to the experience.
We will not.
I'm getting upgraded. I won't be ready till December.
Jimmy's delayed.
Yep.
So if you want your money
Speaking
back.
of, we're going to be at Maker Faire. That's in May
18th
to 21st, somewhere in there.
We always forget to look it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we'll be there.
I'm going to be in Colorado on the 14th. I'm going to drive to San Francisco, hopefully within enough time.
Hopefully.
Everything is coming. I get so many. I'm doing the Gulf Coast Green Conference. I've talked about it a couple times. That's going to be next week, a week from tomorrow. And I'm going to do a lecture there. That's going to be fun and judge a contest. And it's just that 1 week is blending into the next. And then in second or third week of May, the second week of May, Taylor and I are driving to Chicago and then on to, we're driving to Colorado and then on to San Francisco.
Doing your yearly cross-country crazy tour.
This will be my second annual. Yeah, the other times I've flown, but this time we're going to go to Colorado first for a wedding of a friend.
That's crazy.
Well, while we're talking about this, I'd like to plug something that's going on the day after Maker Faire, and that is Bob, your friend Rob Scallon. His band is going to be on tour, and it happens to be in San Francisco on the following Monday. And you and I are both staying there, and we're going to be there on Monday. And so if you're planning on traveling, that might be something you want to check out and stay an extra day.
Yeah, the show, they're actually playing in San Francisco Monday and Tuesday, but, once is plenty for me. But, so it's Rob Scallon playing, and then Wheezy Waiter, if anybody knows him from YouTube, is a really funny guy, but he's in a band called Driftless Pony Club. They're playing. Hank Green and his band are playing. Hank Green is one of the Vlog Brothers. He's the guy that started VidCon. You should probably know who he is if you're on YouTube. And then another guy named Andrew, I can't remember his last name, but I've seen several of his videos too. They're all YouTube musicians. They're all really funny and really talented, and they're, going out on a tour together. So yeah, totally. If you're going to be around, stay an extra night or something and go see them. And all the information is, I'll have to put a link to it. I think it's called Tour Because Awesome or something like that. I don't know, but I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Nice. Yeah, I booked myself there until Tuesday just so I could hang out after the fair and take photos of San Francisco. And then I saw in Rob's one of his latest videos, he posted that. I'm like, oh, what perfect timing! So
yeah,
it'll be fun.
Definitely.
I don't know what's going on with me. I think I told you guys I'm hanging out till the end of the fair too, because I might be picking a machine up from one of the vendors. Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be waiting around. I might be getting a plasma cutter CNC. So
every time you go out west, you have something to pick up to take back.
Well, it's because it's like, oh, you have your car? Can you carry something for me? So is that kind of thing. Or would you like to carry something heavy back to your hometown? Sure. I like picking up heavy things.
Yeah, I like paying for lots of gas. Sure.
That too. Yeah.
So we got some more time. So I had one more thing I wanted to talk about this week. And I don't know that we have a lot to say about this, but and I mentioned it to you guys beforehand. So I put up a video this week, and one of the comments was congratulating me on the number of subscribers I had, which is not at all the conversation I want to have. But it was nice of that person. And underneath it, somebody said, no offense or anything, but Diresta should have more subscribers than you.
Is that the tone that he said it in?
Well, I assume. That's how
we
I
all
read
make up
it,
our own voices for the trolls.
Yeah. He was like, hey, dude. So, no, but it was like, no offense. I just like him better than you, or something to that effect.
Right. And so that only cost me $10, by the way, to get that placed on your page.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
cool. That's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good deal. No. But anyway, so my response and several other people's response was like, yeah, he should have more than I do. But it's not even about subscribers. That meaning is that number is totally meaningless in the world of YouTube. It's about views. It's about interaction with people and all that type of stuff. And a lot of people spoke up and said, well, they do very different things on YouTube. And I said, there's no competition. Why would there be competition? You only picked 3 videos that you're going to watch on YouTube every day, and whoever doesn't make the cut doesn't get watched. I mean, there's nothing like that. So
that's the one thing I love about YouTube compared to my experience with television. And I've talked about this before. It's that we all like to see each other do well. I know in the TV world, it's like, oh man, that guy's getting better ratings than me. Those guys all stink. I'm leaving out the curse words because this is a family-friendly show. But I know my personal experience with television and the competition there. And actually, I worked in a studio that another TV show worked in. And we shared tools. And the whole crew and me and my brother were very competitive. And, we were all on the same team. We were on the same network and everything. But, there was this competition. It's just this kind of jealousy and hate. But I really don't feel that in the community that we're all in, this YouTube community. We just went to Atlanta. You guys didn't make it, but what it was like in WIA, and there's going to be more. It's just it's so sappy and silly, but it is one big love fest. And it's I'm happy, Bob, that you're growing and that you're doing well, because it's just going to rub off on me and Dave, because people watch us 3 together and people watch us individually. And people that like you, through maybe the tech world, are going to find me. And, I'm not saying that that's a little bit more, I'm kind of being a little stereotypical, that all your fans are tech fans, but you know what I mean? We each have our own individual type of fans, but there's so much overlap. And the fact that you have so many subscribers is just going to be helpful for the community and us individually, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing that I noticed or I recognized in that moment is that, at least from my perspective, I've never felt or seen competition between, us being the community, like all the people that make videos, because like you said, it's like everybody's trying to lift everybody up. Yeah. I mean, anybody that I associate with, I'm sure there are people that are not
it's funny. It's like we all have our subscriber base, and we're like, we're in the hundreds of thousands, I guess. I don't know who's like, in our community, who's like, in air quotes, the lead. Is it Matthias? What is he now? Or are you in the lead, Bob? As far as our thing, I don't mean to say the lead like that, but I'm going to make a comparison.
It depends on like what you're gauging, but I think I have probably the most subscribers in generally the world that we're in.
All right. So
I don't know.
But the point I'm making is, so you're like, whatever, 700,000 something. When you look in the world that like Casey's in and like these YouTubers you see in the ads, they're into the millions.
Oh yeah, totally. It's a different thing.
It's like although, when you see other YouTubers that are in our community that are just starting, I met a couple of young YouTubers, young channels in Atlanta, and these guys are, under 1,000, under 5,000 subscribers. And I tell these guys, I'm like, it's just a matter of time before you and me and Bob, and it happens so quickly. And if you just keep putting up good, decent content, with good branding, people are going to pay attention and people are going to start to watch. So it's just a matter of time before, you get to where you feel like you need to be, whatever it might be. But
the day that when I announced that I quit my job to do this full time, I'm not going to name names because I don't want everybody contacting them, but for advice. But the two, probably the biggest people in the woodworking YouTube community contacted me and said, hey, basically, how can I help? And I had a phone call with one and a long email conversation with the other saying, here's some good advice for you. This is how you deal with some things. And I was blown away. It was at that moment I realized, like, this is not a competition. We all... And the one person actually said, we all grow together. So
yeah, that's the point I was trying to make. Not so eloquently, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think anybody sees it as a competition. It's we're all in this. We're all having fun. A lot of us know each other. We talk offline and at events, and we if one person succeeds, we all kind of succeed. And I don't think anybody's ripping anybody else off. We're all doing our own thing. I'm influenced by a lot of people, and I might see a project that somebody else does, and I might put my own spin on it. But I try very hard to do my own thing, and I know you guys, you're way different than everybody else. So,
yeah, I think that it's just interesting to look at like our perception of the content creator side of YouTube versus the content consumer side of YouTube, and they may have a different. This is purely based on comments, okay. But they may have a different perspective of like how we look at it. Whereas we're looking at like, all these awesome people that we get to learn from and we get to help, and we talk about business stuff, but to help each other out, and we, pass around contacts at different companies and, stuff like this to try to help everybody out. And so, I guess that's just not obvious from the other side of the screen. Right. And I hope it becomes obvious.
What's funny too? A lot of people don't know we do a podcast. So they see my videos and they see your videos and they see Dave's videos. They have no idea that we're friends. They have no idea that we work together.
That's true.
So many times I meet people, oh man, I really love your videos. I'm like, oh yeah, Bob. Well, who's Bob and who's Dave? I'm like, the guys I do my podcast with. You do a podcast? So you think that, because we all watch each other, everybody watches each other as well, which is on the whole, the majority. But from time to time I meet people in and around that only specifically know me. And then I say, what else do you watch? And then they mention like, Michelle Phan and like 5 other things that are like super like in the know. And, the more celebrity YouTube people. So anyway, it's just this, everyone has different tastes.
Yeah. Our only competition is television.
Yeah. Which is slowly going out of business.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't have anywhere to go with that, I guess, but I just wanted to bring it up.
It's funny. Everybody always asks me why I don't have more subscribers and why I don't have more subscribers. And I'm happy with the views. I'm getting really good views. I get at least 1 million views a week, and I'm happy with that. But the subscribers is always like the surface thing that a lot of business people look at. That, they don't dig too deep into the analytics until they get to know you. But the first thing they see is the subscribers, and to them that equates to, people in agreement with you, or people that are in your camp, and they look at that as the people that they can contact as far as their advertising, initiatives. And it's funny. People ask me, why don't I think my subscriber base grows as fast? I think as fast as my views. And it's personally, I know, because I do this. I look at a video. Someone sends me a video, and there's a couple YouTubers you guys know. I'm like, some of his videos are interesting, but I think he's an ass. So I will not click, but there are some videos I really like that this person does, but I will not give him that little, it's just my little way of taking away from him. And I'm guilty of that. So I know I get a lot of that. I'm sure people watch me, and they watch me with like one eye, like, look at this jerk. Who does he think he is? Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. This guy's a jerk. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, he's a jerk. So they're kind of, because I know my own personal experience is the same thing with other YouTubers. So that's what I think happens to me more and more often, because there's always the flare up of like, what do you write your name on everything? You must really have an ego. And then my fans defend me, and then it turns into this long chain of how I write my name on everything. So I think that I'm smart, or that I think I'm talented.
No, the thing can happen in the exact opposite direction of what you just said. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the case.
Absolutely.
Just because you get a subscriber doesn't mean that person is a fan of yours, or doesn't mean that they really they may just be keeping tabs on you. They may just be interested to see what you're going to make, for whatever reason. I mean, and I've said this before in talks, that like, just because somebody subscribes, there are 1,000 reasons that you could subscribe to a YouTube channel. None of those are any better or worse than any of the other ones, but just because somebody clicks that button doesn't mean you know anything about them. It doesn't mean you can like lump them into this, thing of like, oh, these people love what I do or hate what I do or whatever. And like you said, that number is the thing that's out front. That's the thing that gets seen. And so it's a value. And so people think it has value, but it's actually just a number. Versus the actual view count, which is the thing that really matters, because that means people are actually watching videos. And like in the case of you and I, Jimmy, our numbers are opposite. So I have a higher subscriber number, but a way lower view count number. You have a way higher view count number and a little bit lower subscriber number, not too much. And so just depending on which metric you're looking at, there's a really different way to kind of measure success, or measure whatever it is you're trying to measure, Anyway, so I don't think that's obvious from the outside. I don't think any of this stuff is obvious from the outside, which is kind of what I wanted to bring it up. Anyway.
It's a one big YouTube love fest.
Yeah, I mean, you
guys know that I love you, right?
Oh, yeah.
I love you too.
I've said it before. Have I said it? I've said it.
But that's not the end of the show.
I think you said it. Yeah. People are hitting stop now.
Somebody actually wrote us an email this week and ended it with "I love you too." Did you see that?
No.
It was awesome.
Oh man.
Anyway, I don't have anything else to say about that, so we can move on. Unless you guys have something to say about that.
Just it's a great community, and I love everybody. I am so thankful to know all these other YouTubers, and it's changed my life. Everybody's been super kind.
It really has changed my life, and David as well. I can speak for David. I know because today Dave and I are sitting here eating lunch near Albany, upstate New York, and the phone rings, and it's Izzy talking to Dave about something they're going to work on together. And Izzy's a bro. It's like he's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just hanging out with Jim, having a hamburger. We're building this beehive thing." Now it's like my close friends have just expanded across the whole entire United States and the world. And it's amazing. And that happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Cool. What have you guys been watching?
So this is not going to appeal to everybody, but there is a YouTube channel by a music company called Sweetwater. And Sweetwater is like a music supply catalog place, but it's not a huge chain like you might be familiar with, like Guitar Center. It's owned and operated out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they're one of those companies that does social media right. Their YouTube channel is phenomenal. They all new products get a video review or overview on there. There's little tutorials on there, and they're really well done. Like if you are in the catalog game, you need to look at Sweetwater's YouTube channel because they're doing it right. And they do sell some video equipment, and if you're into podcasting or recording anything, it might be a place to check out, and really good people there too.
I bought a few things from them over the years.
Yeah. And I've been to their facilities, and it's mind-blowing. They have 3 or 4 recording studios on site, huge warehouse. Every year they have like an open house, and just really, really well done.
All right. I'm going to talk about Brandon it's just because I'm on a couple of the videos. I honestly haven't watched them, so I don't know what you're in for. If anybody wants to see a couple of videos of me, Brandon is a local kid who I became friends with, and he comes and hangs out at the shop. He's hung out at the shop 3 times so far. Super energetic, really good young kid, and he's going to freak out that I'm talking about him. Brandon, I'm talking about you. Brandon 2076. Brandon, BRANDON 2076 is his channel. And he has a couple of videos of me just goofing off. He comes to the shop wearing a GoPro, and I've only watched one of them. There's a couple on there. So
is 2076 his last name?
Yeah, that's his last name. He's a robot, actually.
Oh,
no,
awesome.
Brandon's a New Yorker, and I show him a little bit of stuff on the bandsaw, and he showed me his slingshots that he made. So take a look if anybody, there's some stray content of me getting out there because people come visit my shop with cameras rolling, and I just let it roll. I have no idea. I say, just don't shoot my love handles. I don't care what else you shoot. That's all.
Camera angle is everything.
That should also be a t-shirt, I think.
Don't shoot my love. No, I've been self-conscious about like the 20 pounds I put on since I started YouTube. And and people come and visit me, and they shoot me, and I don't know what they're shooting. I don't, they're shooting my bald spot. I don't know what they're looking at. And I never look at it because I don't want to be embarrassed. But anyway, it's out there.
Speaking of, you were talking about losing weight, and you've mentioned it before.
No, I know. It's been a stupid thing of mine. I got to get over it.
Well, no, it's like a thing. It's a real thing. But I recently started. So Wheezy Waiter, I was talking about earlier, he makes videos like every day. He's moved into more of like a vlog style channel, but they're really interesting about his days, and he tries to. Anyway, part of that every day is that he works out and he runs. He's a marathoner as well. And he started using this thing called 7-minute workout, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And so I saw him using it, and I've been looking for something I could quickly do to kind of help, outside of my running. And so I downloaded it. It's a free app. It's by Wahoo, WAHOO, and it takes 7 minutes, and it's like full body.
It's
you
tough.
get a little bit of work on every muscle group.
It's tough. I can't get through the entire 7 minutes.
But I think it's worthwhile because it's like a short burst of, you kind of hit all the different spots. But anyway, that might be something you could do as an interim for not getting to the gym, or you could go to the gym. Not that you asked for my help, but I just thought
No. It's actually, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking, can I pretend to be busy for 7 minutes a day and not do that? That's all I'm thinking of.
Can you figure out a way out of it?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out, there's no excuse for not working out for 7 minutes in a day.
Yeah. And that's kind of my reason. Like no, even if I'm not running a day, 7 minutes, come on, I can do that before I get in the shower. It's like I don't have an excuse not to do that.
I could actually do it for 6 minutes, and that probably would be better for me.
Okay.
Something about Mary reference.
We canceled our gym memberships, I don't know, like a year ago. And a few months ago, we started a new online thing called Daily Burn. The commercials are kind of annoying, but it's like you pay monthly, and every day there's a new workout, and it's actually pretty good. There's tons and tons and tons of video content, depending on if you want to do cardio or weight training, whatever. If you're into that stuff, Daily Burn's pretty cool.
This is kind of unrelated, but kind of related. My wife and I have done several mud runs, which is it's like a race, but it's not really a race. It's mostly just you run through mud and you do obstacles and all that stuff. And they are a blast. They're so much fun. Some of them are really hard, but some of them are just fun. And so if you're looking for something like active to do that's more fun than work, I would highly suggest them because they're a blast. We just signed up for another one in May. So a bunch of us, there's like 7 or 8 of us will usually run it all together. And so we just kind of goof off the whole time and run and climb stuff. But
nice.
Anyway, my pick for the week. Have I ever talked about the Vlog Brothers? I mentioned them earlier today, but
I don't think so.
So kind of the OGs of YouTube, Hank and John Green. John Green is an author, but they've been on YouTube, I don't know, since like 2006 or something. And so they started this thing. They were brothers. They lived in different places. They didn't talk a whole lot, so they decided to start this thing called Vlog Brothers. And they each put up a video each week, and it's to the other person. So John puts up one, and he starts it with, "Hey Hank, blah 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 blah. See you next week." And then Hank starts his with, "Hey John," and then, so it's like this ping pong of content on the same channel every week. It started there, and then it turned into like everything. So Hank started VidCon. They own and run DFTBA records, and I mean, it's like huge. All this, I can't even like list all the stuff. But once you start figuring out what they've started and what they've been a part of, they are a huge reason why YouTube is what YouTube is at the moment. Anyway, so these conversations that they have back and forth between the two of them are really interesting because they're always kind of topical about, kind of current events, or, it's sometimes political, sometimes it's like pop culture stuff, but it's always an interesting take and like an informative kind of intellectual take on something. And so they're fun to listen to because they're both smart guys. They know what they're talking about. They're funny and goofy and they're nerds, and, it's interesting to watch. So kind of just them in general is the recommendation. But the one that John put up today is called Literally Hitler. And it's about people using Hitler as a reference for like talking about current politics. And I don't want to talk about politics at all, but it's an interesting thing for him to bring up, to say, like, no matter what side of what booth you're standing on or what aisle, people are saying that the other person is literally Hitler. And that type of discourse, is awful for everybody, which is something I totally am in line with. Like the negative stuff that's wrapped up in politics, it just hurts everybody. So it kind of stuck out as one of the many very interesting videos that they've had. So if you're into that type of thing, check out the Vlog Brothers.
Very cool.
Cool.
Just pulled them up.
So before we go, I want to thank our patrons, everybody from Patreon, especially Jeremy White, Luis Gonzalez, John Cornwell, Dominic DeFino, Elijah Taylor, and Make Build Modify. But everybody over there, we really appreciate the support, continued support, and we sold some T-shirts this week for the first week.
Yep.
So thank you to everybody that got those.
Yes. And we're never going to run out because they are screen printed on demand. So
never, ever.
But you should buy them now.
Because we might run out.
Yeah.
How do we get those, David?
You can head on over to makingitpodcast.com/t-shirt. And that's going to actually redirect you to a different URL to our supplier, and you can order them right from our printer, Juke Mode.
Nice. And they're black shirts with the white logo.
Yep.
In case you're wondering. Good shirts, too. Cool. You guys got anything else for this week?
That's it.
That's it.
Right on.
Just want to say I love you.
Aww.
You're going to have to change it up. Everybody just expects it now. People aren't going to think it's sincere.
I already said it.
All right. See you guys next week.
1/4. Yo, what are you still doing here?